So I had an idea, which is never a good thing because my ideas always seem to cost me a lot of money and a lot of work. For some reason I can never really get them out of my head. In the past couple of months I've been working quite a lot, but I've been running into some issues like the fact that I find it progressively hard to work away from my setups. The screen real estate, the comfort, the power. I have a lot of setup videos on my channel, so if you're a subscriber you probably know what I'm talking about. But sometimes it just can't be helped. You find yourself at school or on holiday and you want to edit some videos or make some 3D renders. In the past I'd be totally fine with my i5 13-inch MacBook Pro, but that was at the cost of my own time, which I find I have less and less of these days. So I set out to build a half-decent workstation type thing, and it all centers around this portable editing hub I built. It started out as an idea to have all my hard drives in a sort of box that I could plug into my MacBook with one cable and have access to the SSD for my active projects and 2 4TB drives for my longer term storage, yet still have access, so if I need footage from an old project I'd be able to do so. Later I added a LoupDeck to this equation purely for the simple fact that my workflow hinges on this thing quite heavily. So I changed the idea to a kind of desktop device, which takes a little more time to get set up, but not too much. It's very handy to be able to click one button and have a file structure set up in a couple of seconds. Editing my voiceovers on this thing has also saved me a lot of time. At the moment it's a little big, and currently I'm designing one with just SSD storage, but that's something for a different video. My first design was a little difficult as it was split into 2 different parts. I quickly figured out that my bed adhesion wasn't good enough to achieve this, and the change in reflection didn't look so good. This is version 2, basically made up of 6 parts: a lid to keep the LoupDeck safe, a holder for the LoupDeck, the 2 caddies for my Seagate Drives, and a caddy for my Samsung T5 SSD. All the cables for these caddies are friction fit into the print, so all I have to do is slide the drives in and they're connected. Underneath that are the 2 last parts, which is the stand that angles the LoupDeck forward a little, allowing me to have a more ergonomic posture while using it. Although most of the time when I'm working away from my setup it's not that ergonomic anyway, so take it as you will. In the stand I have 2 USB-C hubs. I could make do with just one, but I noticed that it would be relatively unstable. Drives would just disconnect from time to time. Initially I wanted a Thunderbolt 4 hub in there so I could seamlessly integrate this with my home setup. Just plug a single Thunderbolt cable into my Thunderbolt 4 dock and somehow mount it onto the monitor arm where my LoupDeck is usually located. I'm fairly sure I won't be able to get this idea out of my head either, so it's probably going to happen sometime soon. For this one there was also the thought of integrating a power bank, ensuring all the drives would get sufficient energy, but it seemed to make the situation worse and the drives would start ticking. It's probably a good reason for this, however I didn't bother figuring out why. In case you're enjoying the video, consider subscribing. It's a great free way to support me and it doesn't cost you anything. I'm unsure where I'll be taking this content, but it's always going to be tech related. Anyway, I used a soldering iron to insert the bolts, but I wish I didn't do that because it did ruin some of the form in the 3D printed part. Maybe one day I'll do a really good print with less flaws, but for now it's something I'm still testing to see if I really use it every day. Of course, this dock isn't the only thing that I use while working away from home. Most of it is already mentioned in my What's in my tech bag video. However, this new brick of mine takes up a lot of space, so I've had to leave some things behind to accommodate it. I mainly keep it simple by just using the LoupDeck and the MacBook Pro, but sometimes I also use the iPad Pro as a secondary display. I wish I could mount it above my laptop so I could use it as a preview window like I have my home setup. However, I doubt I'll be able to make a mount thin enough to where it still fits in my laptop compartment, alongside the fact that it might ruin the MacBook's display if it gets jammed in there. For now it's either lying on the keyboard or to the side depending on how much space I have available. I find myself trying to use the LoupDeck for most of my editing and therefore challenge myself by leaving the keyboard inaccessible. This way, however, also means that I'm unable to use the trackpad, and for now the Apple Magic Mouse also joins the equation. The urge to buy a Logitech MX Master is really there, however I've been trying to live a little more simplistic recently. I find myself with way too much stuff half the time I'm fixing things, which isn't a great way to spend my time on this planet. My friends of course laugh at me for saying this. I guess it's because they know it's out of character. But yeah, I think that was kind of it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I gave you some ideas and inspiration for your own work away from home setup.